All right. Thanks for joining me. I've got an interesting sort of subject I want to broach, and that's alternatives to these. Well, one watch in particular, the Audemars Piguet Royal Oak, undoubtedly an absolutely proven watch on the market, and it looks nice to me. I think it looks gorgeous. It came with a lot of controversy. People love it, people hate it, but I would like to sort of look at this case design and two examples of watches I have that can be purchased and had for a very reasonable sum of money, and also have one of them in particular has a nice movement, and both of these watches are interesting vintage watches that would, I think, complement any collection as sort of everyday type sport watches. So let's take a look at this case design first. Some might call it a tonneau case or a cushion type case, but it's not really. It's you have the absence of lugs, and where you would normally have a space for lugs, there isn't that, and so that's what sort of lends itself to the name of a cushion case. But it is slightly different than the typical cushion case you'll see. But you'll understand better what this case looks like when you see it without the bezel. And essentially you have your typical case design, and right here is where you would have a cutout for a bracelet. But instead it's continuous, and then of course, and then you have this this beveled ridge and then integrated bracelet on the AP Royal Oak. So let me pull out two interesting watches that sort of, I think, are interesting alternatives, or something that you could wear with a similar case design. On the left, we have one of my, I appreciate wearing this watch. It's a very lightweight, very nice, classic looking watch. It's an Omega Geneve automatic. It has the typical 10 series movement. I think it's a 10-12 movement, and a very nice automatic movement. And on the left, or on the right, is a interesting Timex. It's a Timex Q Quartz, which is, I don't have any batteries. I think the battery might have just died, but you can see the second hand moving, because it does use a balance wheel, the quartz mechanism, and so it moves. It doesn't tick once per second. It ticks, like, I think it's 2 or 3 times or 4 times a second. It uses the quartz to regulate the impulse on an electromagnet, which is essentially timing the balance wheel, and so it's using the quartz to maintain accuracy of a balance wheel, which is the which is also running an escapement type mechanism. So I don't want to get too technically involved, but these two watches have a very similar case design, as you can see, to this Royal Oak. Yeah. So you have the sweeping sides, and then no cutout for the bracelet. You know, it doesn't have lugs. Essentially, it's a solid piece. This one actually does. But it is in fact an integrated bracelet, and it even has the ridge drop off here, similar to the Royal Oak, and so does this. And so this is a case design that is cues from, and where it originated there's a lot of arguments for that, but exactly where it originated, but using the the octagonal bezel on the Royal Oak is what makes this very unique. I found this Timex to be interesting because it does have like a dive bezel, or at least just could be used for a timer. I doubt that this had, well, I don't think this had any waterproof integrity, even new. It might have said waterproof on the back, but the crown is, I mean, it's an electric watch. I'm not sure if Timex really would appreciate people diving with these, with this particular watch. It's got this integrated type bracelet, but it's not integrated. It actually uses spring bars, and that is typical of like cushion case type designs. And it wears really nicely. I think from 30 feet away and about 30 miles an hour, it looks kind of like the face of a Speedmaster, sort of with the ghost bezel. And that's a bit of a stretch, but you know, for a watch that's very lightweight and fairly interesting, easy to read, comfortable, and a good size. This is about 39 millimeters. It can be had. I see them for sale on eBay all the time, and they're always going for, they sell for around $60. And generally, if the listing says that it's working, then you're gonna have a nice watch that's gonna last you a long time, as long as it's kept away from moisture. Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. But I do rarely wear it just because I have a lot of other options. This one has a nice oyster bracelet on it. This is the Omega. And it wears slightly smaller, but it also doesn't have the bezel. And so this is a very, very clean case design. I think it's a nice looking watch. I mean, these can be had for a few $100s. I see them for sale, and they usually go for about $300 on eBay. And I'll have to look back or open this up. It has a date, so someone can write in the comments and remind me. But or I'm sure somebody will. Which movement that was, but it's the 10 series movement, whether it's the 1010 or 1012 or 1020. I think it might be 1012, or it actually might be 1020. I think 1012 was just a date only complication, but that's of no consequence here. Yeah, nice looking watch. I mean, this I think this can be an excellent value for anybody looking for a nice sport type watch. I mean, you can wear it. The great thing about these integrated bracelet type watches, like the Royal Oak or a Nautilus by Patek Philippe, or this, is that it can be worn in a dress situation, or in a casual dress. You know, it looks nice with a suit, and it also looks nice with sport clothes and active wear. And I do get a fair amount of use out of this. It's lightweight, it keeps great time, it's got a well-proven movement. I'm not terribly I'm not a terribly huge proponent or supporter of this movement, because I've taken a dozen of them apart and repaired them, and little things break on them. They're not as sturdy. Little things that I haven't seen break as frequently on the 500 series Omega movements. In particular, a couple the barrel the barrel sprocket, or whatever you call it, the winding sprocket, the winding, it's like the disc that sits above the barrel and the clicks is attached to. That's chipped several times on me, just in movements that I've opened up, that's been chipped. But I think these are rare circumstances where poor watchmakers opened them up and damaged them, and I got them in sort of the post repair, like attempted repair state. But from normal wear, I haven't ever had one of these watches break on me, and I don't know if it really ever needs to be serviced, to be honest. I mean, that's just being honest to the viewers. If you have one of these watches that's only a couple $100s, you could have it serviced. I don't think it's very expensive. I service them, and it's very easy for me. I find it, it's an integrated automatic mechanism. The automatic works is integrated into the movement, and it's very easy, very modular movement. But if you're thinking about buying one, I wouldn't be too concerned, as long as it says that it's running and keeping good time. I wouldn't be too concerned about servicing it. And it's one of those watches and movements that it is fairly inexpensive, that that you could just service it if it starts losing time or gaining too much time. And parts can be fairly easily found. But yeah, that's sort of just my 2 cents on these two watches. And my 2 cents on two examples of low price or affordable sport watches, vintage sport watches with integrated bracelets, or integrated type, integrated looking bracelets. Yeah, get a good look at that. But thanks for watching. Try to think of some other videos. If you guys have any video ideas, I mean, I have tons of Omegas. So if you want to see the whole collection, or if you want to see other watches, I'd be happy to make whatever video you guys come up with. All right, thanks so much. Bye.